My name is Samantha, I'm 32 years old, and until recently, I thought I was doing everything right as a wife, and as a daughter-in-law. I married Daniel 5 years ago, and like most new brides, I was eager to be accepted by his family. His mom, Linda, was the matriarch of everything. She ran the household, she planned every holiday, and she had an opinion about every single thing Daniel and I did. At first, I told myself it was just her way of showing care. I mean, she raised him all by herself after his dad passed away, so of course she was protective. That was how I excused her cutting comments, the way she looked at me like I wasn't good enough for her precious son. The first Thanksgiving after Daniel and I got married, I remember standing in Linda's kitchen for hours, trying to help. She kept correcting me, "That's not how you make gravy, we don't season turkey like that." "Oh, just let me do it, Samantha." I swallowed my pride, smiled, and told myself that one day she'd soften, that if I kept showing her respect, she would eventually see me as family. But the years rolled by, and her words got sharper. When Daniel and I bought our house, she said it was too small. When I got promoted at work, she told Daniel that a woman who works too much neglects her marriage. When we couldn't afford to host Christmas dinner one year, she told everyone I was lazy and ungrateful. Still, I tried. I showed up with gifts, baked pies from scratch, laughed at her jokes even when they stung. I told myself it wasn't worth upsetting Daniel by pushing back. This year though, things hit a new low. Thanksgiving was approaching, and I asked Linda what I could bring. She gave me this icy smile and said, "Actually, Samantha, you don't need to bring anything. You don't need to come at all." I thought I misheard her. "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart thudding in my chest. She shrugged, as if it were nothing. "You've never really fit in with our family. Honestly, it'll be less awkward if it's just us this year. Daniel can come, of course. But you? It's better if you stay home." I wanted to cry right then and there, but I forced a laugh. "You're kidding, right?" Linda tilted her head, her eyes narrowing. "No, Samantha, I'm not. You can celebrate in your own way. Maybe cook yourself one of those fancy little meals you're always bragging about from work. This is our family tradition, and frankly, you've always felt like an outsider." I nodded, smiled like her words didn't slice me open, and said, "Of course, I understand." But inside, my hands were shaking. Daniel didn't say a word. He just sat there, staring down at his coffee, letting his mother tear me apart. On the drive home, I kept silent. Daniel eventually muttered, "Don't take it so personally, Sam. Mom's just Mom. You know how she is." I wanted to scream, "Don't take it personally." His mother had just told me I wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving, the holiday we've celebrated together every year since we got married. But instead of defending me, Daniel chose to defend her. That night, I lay in bed wide awake, staring at the ceiling. The house felt colder than usual, the silence louder. I thought back to all the times I had helped Linda without her even knowing. She didn't realize it, but when Daniel's paycheck fell short during our second year of marriage, it was me who quietly made sure her mortgage was paid on time. When her car broke down, it was me who covered the repair because Daniel didn't have the funds. I never told her, never bragged, never even asked for thanks. I thought helping her was the right thing to do, the daughter-in-law thing to do. And this was the thanks I got: banishment from her table. I stared at Daniel sleeping peacefully beside me, and felt a wave of loneliness crash over me. I had been excusing their behavior for years, letting Linda's insults slide off my back, telling myself I was strong enough to handle it. But in that moment, I realized something. Strength wasn't about taking endless blows. Sometimes, strength was about standing up and saying enough. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but a seed had been planted in my heart. I wouldn't cry about this anymore. I wouldn't beg for their acceptance. And I wouldn't let them keep treating me like I didn't matter. The next morning, as I poured myself a cup of coffee, I caught my reflection in the kitchen window. My eyes looked tired, but there was something else there too, a spark. A smirk curved my lips without me even realizing it. For the first time in years, I didn't feel powerless. They thought they could humiliate me, exclude me, and I'd just take it. But they were wrong. Very wrong. The days after Linda uninvited me from Thanksgiving felt like moving through a fog. I tried to keep myself busy with work, answering emails, attending meetings, pretending everything was fine. But every time I had a quiet moment, her words echoed in my head, "You don't need to come at all. You've never really fit in." It was one thing to feel like an outsider. It was another thing entirely to be told, flat out, that you weren't wanted. By your own family. By the people who were supposed to be your foundation. Daniel avoided the topic completely. He walked around the house like nothing had happened, humming when he shaved, scrolling on his phone during dinner, leaving me drowning in silence. On the third night, I asked him directly, "Are you really going to Thanksgiving without me?" I whispered, my throat tight. He glanced up, annoyed. "Sam, don't make this a big deal. You heard Mom. It's just easier this way. We'll go to Christmas together, okay?" I stared at him in disbelief. Easier? Easier for who? For her? For you? Because it's certainly not easier for me, Daniel. I'm your wife. And you're fine with your mom cutting me out like I'm disposable. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. Why do you always have to turn things into drama? Mom is who she is. She doesn't mean half of what she says. If you just ignored her, life would be simpler. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him and ask how he could be so blind, so cowardly. But instead, I swallowed the lump in my throat and nodded. I'd spent years holding my tongue for the sake of peace. But I wasn't sure I could keep doing it. The night before Thanksgiving, Daniel packed his overnight bag without shame. "I'll be back Friday morning," he said casually, as though he were leaving for a business trip. I watched him zip the bag closed, my heart pounding. "You're really going to her house without me?" He froze, his back to me. "Sam, please don't start." Then he grabbed his keys and walked out the door, leaving me in the silence of our too big, too empty house. The loneliness hit me like a tidal wave. For the first time, I didn't even bother pretending to be okay. I curled up on the couch with a blanket, my chest aching. Tears slipped down my cheeks as I imagined them laughing around the table, carving turkey, passing mashed potatoes, and acting like I didn't exist. But then, a thought cut through the sadness. A sharp, clear thought that made my tears stop. I didn't deserve this. I had bent over backward to be kind. I had poured my time, energy, and even money into that family. They would never admit it, but I had kept them afloat more than once. Daniel didn't know that his mother's mortgage had nearly fallen into default 3 years ago, because I was the one who quietly covered it. He didn't know Linda's car repairs had been paid with my savings. He didn't know that every time his mother badmouthed me, I was simultaneously holding her life together behind the scenes. They thought I was weak because I stayed quiet. They thought my silence meant they had won. But silence can be powerful too. Silence is where planning is born. By the time Daniel's taillights disappeared from the driveway, I had already opened my laptop. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. Years of patience had trained me well. I pulled up the accounts. The ones Linda didn't know I managed. The ones Daniel never bothered to look at closely. My smirk grew wider as the numbers glowed back at me. The thing about people like Linda is that they never imagine the person they dismiss is the one holding all the strings. I spent hours in front of that screen, sipping tea, my mind racing with possibilities. Each click of the mouse was like a small spark of justice. I wasn't sure exactly how far I would take it yet, but I knew one thing for certain: I wasn't going to be their victim anymore. Around midnight, I shut the laptop and leaned back in my chair. The house was quiet, almost peaceful. I could imagine Linda cackling over pumpkin pie, Daniel nodding along to her every word, completely unaware that the ground beneath their feet was about to shift. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel powerless. I felt strong. I felt in control. And I felt ready. The next morning, I woke up to a bright, empty Thanksgiving day. I made myself coffee, toasted a slice of bread, and sat by the window watching families load into cars, carrying pies and dishes, heading to homes where they were wanted. A pang of sadness tugged at me, but it was quickly swallowed by something else: anticipation. Because while Linda and Daniel stuffed themselves with turkey, I had something much more satisfying planned. Something that would finally show them exactly who they had underestimated all these years. And when it was over, they would never look at me the same way again. Thanksgiving passed like a blur. I stayed home, cooked myself a small meal, and poured a glass of wine. I wasn't going to mope around waiting for a phone call that would never come. Instead, I savored the silence. No snide remarks, no icy glares, no pretending I didn't hear the whispers. Just peace. But peace wasn't the only thing I had that night. I had a plan. By the time Daniel stumbled back into the house Friday morning, smelling faintly of wine and pumpkin pie, I had already set everything in motion. He kissed my cheek like nothing had happened, and for once, I didn't flinch. I just smiled at him, my little secret tucked neatly behind my calm eyes. Thanksgiving was nice, he said casually, tossing his bag into the corner. Mom made her famous stuffing. I nodded, sipping my tea. I'm glad you enjoyed it. If he noticed the sharp edge in my tone, he ignored it. He always did. The days that followed were quiet, but heavy, like the air before a storm. I went through the motions at work, cooked dinners, folded laundry, but inside, I was buzzing. The kind of electricity that comes when you know something is about to change. It happened on a Tuesday. My phone rang in the middle of a meeting, Daniel's number flashing across the screen. His voice shook when I answered. Sam, he whispered. It's Mom. Something's wrong with the bank. She just got a notice about her mortgage. She says it's gone. She doesn't understand. She's freaking out. I let a moment of silence stretch between us, my heart thudding with a mix of adrenaline and satisfaction. Gone? I asked softly. What do you mean? She doesn't know. Daniel snapped, his panic bleeding through. She's crying, Sam. She thinks she's going to lose the house. You're good with this kind of stuff. Can you look into it? I bit my lip to keep from smiling. Of course, I said gently. Send me the paperwork. When the email came through, I clicked it open slowly, savoring every second. There it was, bold as day: mortgage withdrawn, account closed, balances called in. The safety net Linda had unknowingly enjoyed for years was gone, and in its place stood a wall of debt she could no longer ignore. I stared at the screen, my smirk growing wider. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice. That evening, Daniel and Linda showed up at our house. Linda looked pale, her eyes swollen from crying. For the first time since I'd known her, she didn't have that superior gleam in her eyes. She looked small. Samantha, she croaked, clutching a stack of papers. Please. You have to help me. I don't know what happened. One day everything was fine, and now it's all gone. I could lose my home. I folded my arms, leaning against the counter. Linda, I'm so sorry to hear that. But I'm not sure there's much I can do. Her lips trembled. You're smart with finances. You always were. I shouldn't have said those things to you. I didn't mean them. Please, help me fix this. Daniel looked at me desperately. Sam, please. She's terrified. You've got to know what's going on. For years, I had dreamed of this moment of them seeing me, really seeing me, not as some outsider, but as the one who held the cards. And now here they were begging. I took a slow sip of tea, letting the silence stretch. You know, I began softly when you told me I wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving. Linda, it hurt. It really hurt. But I smiled, nodded, and stayed quiet, just like I always do. Did you ever stop to wonder why I stayed quiet? Her eyes flickered, confusion giving way to realization. I stayed quiet because I knew something you didn't. I continued, my voice firm now. For years, I've been the one covering your mistakes. I paid your mortgage when Daniel couldn't. I fixed your car when it broke down. I patched every hole without asking for thanks. And what did I get in return? Insults, exclusion, humiliation. Daniel's mouth fell open. You paid Mom's mortgage. I nodded. Yes. And now I've taken it back. Every thread I used to hold your world together, I've let it go. And you know what, Linda? It feels good. Linda's face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, Samantha. I'll do anything. I'll treat you better, I swear. Just don't let me lose my house. I tilted my head, watching her. For once, she was the one stripped bare, exposed, desperate. And it was everything I imagined it would be. Maybe now, I said softly, you'll understand what it feels like to be powerless. To be treated like you don't matter. The room went silent. Daniel stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Linda sobbed into her hands, her shoulders shaking. I set my teacup down and stood tall. I'm done being your scapegoat. I'm done being your punching bag. I'm not your outsider anymore. I'm the one who saved you, and I'm the one who took it all away. Remember that the next time you think I'm not family. With that, I turned and walked upstairs, leaving them standing in the wreckage of their own making. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt lighter than I had in years. For once, I wasn't the girl begging to be accepted. I was the woman who had finally taken back her power. And the best part? Their tears were just the beginning. And that's how it all ended. My husband's family thought they could push me out, humiliate me, and treat me like I didn't matter. But they never expected that I'd have the power to pull the ground right out from under them. One smile, one quiet decision, and their precious house, the one they used to lord over me, was gone. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been mistreated by in-laws, or made to feel like you weren't part of the family? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments, I'd love to read it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories of betrayal, justice, and the sweetest revenge.